This is Frank Islam, Chairman and CEO of FI Investment Group and your host of Washington Current Review, where we interview leading voices from business and politics that impact you, the viewer. Today, our guest is Senator Mark Herring. And Senator Mark Herring is a senator in the state of Commonwealth of Virginia. He's a candidate for Virginia Attorney General. Thank you for coming to the show. We greatly appreciated that. Now tell me a little bit about your background and why you're running for Attorney Generals, and what strength and quality do you possess to be an effective Attorney General?
Well, thank you very much for inviting me, and delighted to be here on the show. Just to tell you a little bit about myself and my background, I grew up here in Northern Virginia, in Loudoun County. My first job working out of high school was working construction as a laborer, and I worked my way through college at UVA. I went to University of Richmond Law School, and I wanted to come back here to Northern Virginia, where I'd grown up, to raise my own family and establish my law practice. I've had a general civil law practice for 23 years. Ran for county supervisor in Loudoun and won, so I served 4 years there. And then I was elected to the Senate in 2006 and re-elected in 2007 and 2011. And under our current Attorney General, we have seen...
He's a well-known and well-regarded in some quarters in this country.
Certainly well known. What we've seen under him is that there's been way too much politics in the office. And time again, he has bent and twisted the law in order to impose policies and take actions that are way outside the mainstream. Virginians deserve a lot better than that. They're ready for fundamental change. And I'm running for Attorney General to take the politics out of the office and put the law first. And I've got the experience and the know-how to repair the damage he's done and make sure that the office is working for all Virginians.
But remember, there hasn't been a Democratic Attorney General since 1987. So the odds are against you as you undertake this new and solemn journey. Tell me, why do you think you'll be an effective Attorney General? And history is against you.
Yeah. Well, it's been 24 years since a Democrat has won the office, but I also think we've got the best opportunity to win this in a long, long time, in part because how Ken Cuccinelli has done things in office. I've got the kind of experience, not only in office, but also from campaigns to win. I represented Loudoun and Western Fairfax. Sometimes in Loudoun, it's tough for Democrats to win in that area, but I've been able to do it successfully. I know what it takes to win tough campaigns. And that kind of experience that I have will also make me a more effective Attorney General. I've been in there fighting for these issues for a long time. People know where I stand on the issues. They know and they can trust me that when I take office, I can run the office effectively from day one.
Which is what the people of this great Commonwealth of Virginia are looking for.
Yes.
And you have been a senator.
Yeah.
In the Commonwealth of Virginia. So what have been your accomplishment that will give you the leverage to be an effective Attorney General?
Yeah. Well, I'm really proud of a lot of the things that I've worked on as state senator over the years, representing Fairfax and Loudoun. One of them is just this year. I've been a forceful advocate for implementing the Affordable Care Act here in Virginia. I served on...
You're talking about also known as Obamacare.
Yes, Obamacare.
The president does care about the people of this great nation.
And care is a good word.
Yeah.
But I carried legislation that would help establish a partnership with the federal government to make sure that the health insurance exchange works for Virginians. And so we'll be able to provide guidance to the federal government. We'll be able to tailor the exchange to make sure that it best meets the needs of Virginians. I also co-sponsored legislation and was a champion for expanding Medicaid in Virginia. That's going to help hundreds of thousands of Virginians receive health care who currently can't afford it right now. It will also be good for our economy, help create jobs. But that's just one of the things. Other things, for example, I'm real proud of what I've been able to do to try to take dangerous designer drugs off the shelves of convenience stores and get it off the streets and out of the hands of our kids. Drugs like synthetic marijuana, spice, bath salts are very dangerous chemicals. As soon as I saw that they were making their way into Virginia a couple of years ago, I got together with the physician community, with law enforcement, prosecutors, to pass a tough law to go after those who would manufacture and market those kinds of dangerous drugs. I've worked in other areas in public safety to strengthen our laws against sexual and domestic violence.
What about the woman, which was the cause that the current Attorney General has been fighting against? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, not only on the areas of sexual and domestic violence and making sure that they get the services
Exactly.
they need, but also in defending and protecting the rights of women to make their own health care decisions free from interference from the politicians down in Richmond. Those rights have been under attack by some down in Richmond and around the state. I've been fighting against that to protect women's rights, not just women's rights, but also, it's an issue that men care about too.
Exactly.
And it's something that I think all of us realize that people should be able to make their own health care decisions, not the politicians down in Richmond.
What's your thoughts on the gun legislations, which is sort of brewing right now in the Senate, as well as the President has been talking about it?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on the
Well, I think the shootings, the massacre at Newtown.
that occurred in Newtown, Massachusetts, and
Yeah.
also in Colorado, if you remember,
and Virginia Tech.
and Virginia Tech?
These are happening all too frequently, and it's really begun to take a hold of our national consciousness, and we need to take steps. The time for action is now. Background checks work, and we need to make sure that those background checks are universal. We need to close the gun show loophole. I also support the assault weapons ban.
That was my next question.
Yeah, well, there's no reason why those types of weapons that were manufactured solely for our soldiers in the military out on the battlefield should be out on the streets. We ought, in addition to the assault weapons ban, we need to have some limitations on the size of the magazines to help reduce the lethality of the weapons that are available, the firearms that are available. Those are reasonable steps that we need to take. And at the same time, we also need to improve our mental health system. If you look at some of the commonalities of those terrible tragedies, the perpetrator in many, if not all of those instances, had
They had a
some
mental-
history.
yes.
Some history of mental illness.
They need help.
They need help. And so there are two things that can be real helpful here. First, the Medicaid expansion, which I mentioned earlier,
Yes.
will help expand mental health services for adults in the communities. So that's going to be
And the
helpful.
President proposed something yesterday about several $100 million for the mental health, if you
Yeah.
remember that.
The other thing we need to do is think about, are we doing enough to identify adolescents who are beginning to show signs of emotional illness
Distress.
or distress? And once they're identified, help them get to the services in the community that they need so the problem doesn't get worse, so that when they become a young adult, they don't have that same kind of process. So are we ever going to be able to say for sure that we can stop those terrible tragedies from occurring all the time? We can't say that, but I think there are reasonable steps we can do to help protect people, to help keep our schools safe, and reduce the number of those instances. Parents shouldn't have to be afraid to send their kids to school.
I subscribe to the same message that you have. Let me do a fast forward. You won your primary against the several candidate who's running as an Attorney General. Now you have been elected as an Attorney General. What would you do the first day when you become the Attorney General of this great Commonwealth of Virginia?
And well, first I'll tell you just my general priorities.
The first day.
First day, all
Yes.
right. First day, I will reverse a couple of wrong and harmful opinions that have come out of our current Attorney General's office. One of the first things he did was issue an opinion that colleges and universities, state colleges and universities, could not include sexual orientation as a part of their non-discrimination policies. It was wrong on the law, it was wrong on the policy, and downright morally wrong. And I would reverse that. I believe they do have the authority. I agree with prior attorneys general who believe that too. And I will
That was
issue-
Bob McDonnell, who was the prior General.
the one who issued an opinion on that, I think, was Jerry Beliles when
Okay,
he was Attorney
okay,
General.
okay.
There's no question in my mind that our state universities have the authority to do that, and I'll provide them with the legal resources they need.
So that's number one.
That's number one. At the same time, I'll also provide and reverse prior opinions about the state not being able to enforce employment discrimination within the state government. Surely.
So employment discrimination based on the background, the belief, the caste, the creed, the religion,
Yes,
race.
and sexual orientation, all
the
of those
LG
things.
Yeah, very well.
And the governor, as the chief personnel officer, has that authority, and I'll provide the resources to make sure that that's defended, and he has the authority to do that for the next governor, and I will do those things on day one.
Very well said. Now, there are a lot of other people running for the Attorney General. Justin Fairfax is another candidate, and I'm sure there are several others, so the primary is going to be somewhat tough and challenging and crowded. What discriminates you compared to those guys? Some of them have never run even a public office. In your case, you have.
Well, I think that the experience that I have is one of the main differences, not only for the campaigns, but also the issues that I've worked on. As a candidate who is running for office now, I know what it takes to win tough races, because I've done it before. And that kind of experience is going to be important if we're going to have a candidate who will not only go toe-to-toe with our Republican opponent, but win, and I can do that. And the experience will also be useful once I get in office, because I've been in the trenches fighting against what Ken Cuccinelli and his allies have done. Again, people know, and they're going to be able to trust where I stand on the issues. They're going to be able to trust that on day one I can take office and run it effectively and make sure the office is working for all Virginians.
No matter who they are.
No matter who they are.
Very well said. Your accomplishment in the Commonwealth of Virginia, obviously what you said, there are several. How that make you a better candidate compared to, against other who's running for the Attorney General in the Commonwealth of Virginia, to give you the edge that you need to win this race?
Yeah. Well, again, people are going to know from the things that I've worked on in the past. So I talked a little bit about the things that I've done to implement the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, here in Virginia. I've been a strong supporter of that. People know where I stand on it. They know that I'm someone who will not just say, oh yeah, I support it, but I've been in there fighting for it.
Exactly.
And so I have been under pressure and been in debates on the floor of the Senate. I've been in committee meetings. I've been in that arena, and I can work effectively to advocate for those things. Other things that I've worked on, things like protecting our kids from designer drugs. Another one, I mentioned one of the goals that I want to have for the office is to make sure that that those who are vulnerable are protected. Well, I worked really hard to protect seniors and older Virginians from financial fraud and abuse. What I found was when I looked at it, a constituent had come to me with a problem, and I found that we have some of the weakest laws in the nation when it comes to protecting seniors and vulnerable adults from financial fraud and scams. I worked hard on that. And by the end, we had a great coalition of supporters. We got it passed this year. And that's the kind of Attorney General I'll be. I will be always out there looking at the problems that are coming up, and when I see something that needs to be fixed, I will work on it until the problem is solved.
So you'll be a problem solver.
Absolutely.
Now, you work for Kane's Senate campaign and also the President Obama's re-elections. What did you do, and do you think it's going to help you to win this election with Attorney Generals?
Yeah, well, first of all...
You're an independent candidate.
Yeah. First of all, I was so proud of Virginia back in 2008 when we made history and elected Barack Obama president. And I campaigned hard for the re-election for the president, as well as Tim Kaine to be our new U.S. Senator. And I was all over the state working on voter registration, worked on canvassing. I went to over 100.
You provided ground support?
Absolutely, and I was there at probably over 100 campaign events all across the state to help energize voters and volunteers wherever I could. And I'm so proud that we made history again, and that Tim Kaine is our new U.S. Senator. And I'm glad that I had at least some small part in that effort.
Well, thank you very much, Mark, for coming, and I wish you good luck and best wishes to you as you undertake this journey. And I know you'll be an effective Attorney General, and this state needs a good Attorney Generals.
One who will put the law first, and I will.
Yes, and that's exactly what it is.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for watching this. This is Frank Islam wishing you a great week.